Hello and welcome to Clamp, the Creating, Living, and Making podcast. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and I'm joined by Adam Mackey.
Hello.
And Morley Kurt.
Hello.
How's everyone doing this week? What are you working on, Morley?
I'm doing good. Grant, you sound very serious this week. It's more serious than last time.
Well, that's probably because I haven't had enough beers. But I'm working on it, don't worry.
I thought it was going to be the opposite.
Oh. No, this is only beer number 3.
Oh, nice. Classic. So you're right on schedule.
Yeah.
So I have been chugging away at my Because We Make Enlighten Us challenge project. Posted my first little teaser today. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think I went through 6 design iterations total. Like, I actually floated this idea to Vincent and Ethan back in like February when they were asking for challenge ideas. And I was like, oh, light fixtures, that would be awesome. And then like a couple months later, I got a first idea. And then over the past couple months, that has morphed very quickly. But what I have now, I'm just like looking at it over there. It's cool.
I looked at the little teaser looks really cool. And of course you got like one of them Edison, like super cool light bulbs.
Yeah,
so that adds to it.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll reveal a little bit. So it's going to be a reading light. So one of the challenges was you don't want a reading light to be too bright, right? Because if it's dark and you're reading, like one of the nice things about a reading light is that it doesn't, if someone's sleeping on the other side of the bed, then it doesn't wake them up. So I actually spent like a long time trying to find the right bulb. I was looking into dimmers, but looking into smart bulbs. Neither of those I didn't really want to go down to. I was like, oh, it'd be just so, I'm kind of like a keep it simple guy. If I can, I want to reduce it down to like its essence and not add unnecessary complication. So I got a few different options because Home Depot, you can just return stuff and easy refund. So that's kind of my strategy. So like just the lowest lumens standard LED bulb was still pretty bright, but this Edison style LED bulb, like it's still an LED, even though it looks like it has the really pronounced filament inside, is a lot warmer and a much more comfortable light output for reading. So it's great. I'm kind of happy that worked out because it also looks way cooler as well, but it's also nice because those bulbs aren't crazy bright.
So I totally bought one of those bulbs for the challenge as well, and then I've changed my ideas about 15 times. So anyways, we'll get to that later when we talk about what I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah, I'm like
so intrigued to see how you've made that lampshade.
Oh, that I posted today? All will be revealed.
Yeah, I haven't made it on social media today. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
Looks really good.
I was feeling a bit of a crunch this week because I'm going away. Like the challenge is due the 17th, August 17th. And I'm going away like the 15th. So I was like, I want to have everything done before I leave. But now I feel like in a much better spot. I think as I mentioned earlier, I tend to like underestimate my productivity. So like 2 days ago, I was like, oh my God, how am I get all this done? But now I feel like I have everything under my belt.
Yeah. I wish that I could feel that same way ever in my life.
Yeah, other than that, I've been working on some embossed leather keychains for the Makers on Zoom Having Coffee crew, which has been a really cool experience. It's been like a nice experiment because I feel like the leather embossing with 3D printed stamps is something that I'd really like to do more. So like this was the first production level run I did of this because this is 16 total, dyed different colors and stuff, and just finished those up today, so should be sending them out soon.
That's really cool. For any of our listeners who don't know what Makers on Zoom Having Coffee is, it's a weekly, or currently hosted weekly video chat on Zoom that Morley hosts every Saturday at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
And coffees are not mandatory. And
No,
if it goes past noon...
any beverage in a mug.
Is it 11 a.m.? Is it 11 a.m. or 11 p.m.?
11 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to do some, like, obviously that's not the best time for Oceania, Australia.
So that would be 9 p.m. for me.
Would it? No, it'd be later. Wouldn't it be like 1 a.m.?
No, it'd be 1 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. We had Sam Wilkinson of Urban Goods. He's popped in a few times, and he's like wakes up in the middle of the night to come on. So we want to do a couple like makers on Zoom having beers, like cocktail hour sort of thing. So it would be, I guess, 9 p.m. for us, 11 a.m. for Australia. So a little more, just able to get a different side of the world. Not so great for like the Europeans, but
yeah,
we've had I don't know, like 15 now. So yeah, that's great. Awesome group. If anyone wants to join in on those any Saturday, let me know. We're always welcoming new faces. Last thing, I've been working on a leather tripod strap for my other podcast host, Ryan. He's a big photographer, so he wants like a strap so he can carry his tripod around to do like photography out and about.
Cool.
So that's been like a cool project. It's a little bit of like product development because it's not really like a standard item, which is always fun.
I was just say, yeah, because mine came with like a carry bag with a strap, but it doesn't, like the strap doesn't go on the actual tripod.
Yeah, so this will like just the naked tripod collapsed, so he can kind of carry it over his back like you would a rifle or something. It's cool. It's like I haven't really done a strap like this before, and I feel like it's a good skill builder in my like ongoing quest to eventually build some like larger, more complicated leather items. So yeah, just kind of started that and working on that between other stuff.
Cool. Oh, well, what about you, Adam? What have you been working on? What's in your clamps?
I've actually had a pretty productive week, not in the shop as much, but more still trying to edit this B-roll footage that I was talking about last week. Because I'm learning a new program as well, like I think I'm going to pause on that and edit a video first just to get the basics down, and then I can start moving into the more difficult stuff. But I started on the Enlighten Us challenge, actually making it yesterday. I put a sneak peek on Instagram as well, just like Morley. And
check it out.
Using my new camera, like it's such a different experience. Like when I had the phone, and I'm sure I think you think a lot more than I do about short screen, but like with the camera, with the phone, it was just like point and shoot and then edit whatever I have. Whereas like I changed lenses a few times. I'm like actually framing up the shot and zooming in on stuff, and like it's just, I don't know, it just feels more real, if that makes sense. Like I don't know, like it just, it feels really good, and like it's just like such a different experience. Like, actually thinking about what I'm shooting and stuff and that, and like, like I got a wide angle lens as well. So I put the camera at the back, like thinking about put the camera at the back of the shot so I can zoom in a little bit and pan across. So it looks like it's on a slider and stuff and all that. So it's cool. And my, the camera I got's got Wi-Fi, so I can connect my phone to it and actually like focus on like the screen on my phone.
Oh, really?
And then press record.
Yeah, mine is that
which
too.
is really good.
I haven't used the remote function, but just getting pictures from my camera to my phone really quickly. I use it for that all the time.
I haven't done that. I think it's really good. Like I stood directly in front of the camera, and it was really good to like make sure I'm in frame and focus it on my face, and then I just press record and leave it. And I stopped the recording on the actual camera, but I just find it really good to be able to see from in front of it, like where I am in frame, if that makes sense. So
my GoPro does that as well, but I don't know, like I used it like 3 times to like set up shots, and then the app started being shitty because it's GoPro and their user interface team is one of the worst. It like reminds me of using a 1990s laptop, but anyways, like
honestly, that's like the Lumix camera app that I use. I feel like all digital camera apps are terrible.
Mine's really annoying too. Like you would think, like the camera's always connected to the Wi-Fi, the phone's connected to the same Wi-Fi, but every time I turn on the camera, I have to go through the whole procedure of setting up the link. I have to go through the settings on the camera, set it up so it's trying to find the phone, make the phone find the like. Why can't I just open the app with the camera turned on and it's all set up already?
Right.
It's
That's
really
exactly why I stopped using it, because it was exactly like that, and I went, I'm not doing this.
The only time I'll use it is when I'm on camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm trying to get specific shots though. Like I'm trying to get myself where like my face, like I'm as close to the camera as possible without cutting off the top of my head, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Hey, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited. I went to work today planning on editing like what I recorded yesterday, and then realized that I forgot to transfer all the footage and left the SD card in the camera at home. Oh. So I just played No Man's Sky all day, so that was fine. But well, yeah.
Well, tomorrow. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah. I applied for a new job today, so that's a bit like nerve-wracking, or last night, nerve-wracking but exciting. Same as what I'm doing, but it's like being a trainer. It's like I'll train people how to do my job, like a teacher, which is a bit exciting. But it's like for we have new trains coming, so it's like for a project team. So like I'll be learning the new trains and then teaching people how to use them and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a bit nervous about that. I've never like applied for a job the way that they wanted it. Like you have to fill out like you have to answer questions of like an essay, but like the questions are based on the actual job. It's not, but I'm like, I don't do the job, so how would I know the answer? So yeah, it was really hard, but my wife, I honestly, I said to my wife, I'm not going to get it, so I'm not going to bother. And she like pushed me to do it. So really, shout out to my wife.
Shout out. Nice.
Yeah. Well, if anything, at least you give it a shot and you gain that experience.
Well, that's what she said.
Next time you'll know what you're to expect, and maybe you can prepare better. It seems like this would be a really good segue into something, but instead, let's go on to what I've been working on. If you're all done.
Grant, you're really going to ruin that segue when you talk about yourself?
Yeah. It's okay. I also have a good segue, too. Right. Anyways, so... I've been working again on that Dead Rise Woodcrafts Maker Swap, and I broke some clamps, if you can believe it. I was trying to break, so I've got this old piece of wood, and I wanted to break it. Instead of like cutting it in half, I wanted to try and break it in half, and I was trying to use like a fulcrum and lever kind of, and I had it clamped on one side with some just, spring clamps, or not spring clamps, quick clamps. The squeeze clamps, the ones that everyone hates, or at least that
the
Jimmy
ones that
hates.
Jimmy loves.
So I was using those, and on the other side, I was using a regular F clamp, like a all metal bodied Irwin F clamp, and it overpowered the two squeeze clamps I had on the other end, and they broke. So that was fun. The other thing is I put the final coat. Sorry?
I said I've broken a few squeeze clamps.
I've never broken one before, so I broken a couple that were like cheap knockoff brands, but not this.
Yeah.
Not a real brand.
Well, I saw in Home Depot yesterday that actually the Bessie F clamps are cheaper than the Irwin squeeze clamps of the same size. So you can just replace it with an F clamp and just trade those out.
I already bought some more squeeze clamps. Because
how much would you expect to pay for a Bessie clamp?
How long?
Yeah, it's the length that matters.
1 meter. Say a meter.
How long is that in inches?
Like 36 inches. Probably like $35, something like that.
Far out.
Yeah.
Like
probably
90.
But then the Irwin squeeze clamps of that size are like 55. And I guess they're more convenient and everything. I feel like the only reason I have squeeze clamps is because I was in a pinch and the hardware store I went to didn't have F clamps. But it's been so long that I've bought F clamps that now I'm realizing I'm like, oh, there's no reason to buy squeeze clamps evermore if I'm going to Home Depot, because the F clamps are actually cheaper and better.
Well, they're not always better.
Yeah.
Because the squeeze clamps you can operate with one hand and get them to a point of clamping something, and then you can come in later with an F clamp.
They are a nice third hand if you're working by yourself, but I feel like I have enough of them now that I don't need more. Like I would want more
here we go.
long F clamps.
Agreed.
So that the like the Bessie clamp, but it's like a block thing. It's not like a squeeze clamp.
The parallel clamps.
I don't know. It's a quick action Revo.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, how much would you expect to pay for one of those? That's like 1 meter.
Oh, okay, so this is like what you would use
$50.
in like a cutting board glue up.
Yeah.
$134.28.
Oh,
Dang boy.
ouch.
Yes. That's why I don't have Bessie clamps. So Bessie,
either.
if you want to sponsor me, or any of us for that matter.
Oh, so that was the America price. The cheapest I can find in Canada is $120.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can go down. I could literally drive to the border and back if the border was open and get it cheaper. But anyways, I digress. What else did I do? Put some final coats of varnish on the paddles. And this weekend I'll be taking my canoe, or my dad's old canoe, out on the Rideau River for a little canoe trip with my family, like a couple hours.
Nice.
Have the little toddler have some fun, hopefully.
Awesome.
I noticed that YouTube now has the mentions feature, which is really cool. So if you put in your title... Sorry?
This is new to me.
Yeah. It's new this week. I just saw it in the YouTube studio. If you put in your title, like at, and then you put whoever, like at Morley Kurt, it mentions them, and then they'll get a notification. There's a separate notification for that. But
That's
I think
cool.
you have to be over 1,000 subscribers because I couldn't find you. Because I tried to update my...
you mean to tag... the person you're tagging has to have over 1,000.
Yeah.
I thought that's been around for a little while.
I just got to 1,000 not that long ago, so maybe it's... maybe they're just finally telling me about it. No, because what I noticed is that the YouTube notifications changed from like a mailbox looking to a bell. And so I looked into it, and now you can see when you've been mentioned.
Okay.
There's a separate tab.
I've also had the bell thing for a while, and are you opted into like beta, like getting all the beta features? Okay,
Never.
That's probably why I've seen it earlier, because I just get all the beta stuff.
Yeah, I refuse to do beta testing for anyone because I am against change. I am old school. I don't know why. I hate it because anytime there's been a beta testing and I've liked a feature, it didn't make it. It didn't make the cut. And anytime that I'm like, this feature's stupid and broken and shouldn't be there, it made the cut, and I went, I can't do it anymore.
I just like being on the
I think that's why I hate beta testing. I don't want the broken crap. Like I'm one of those people that, like, a new phone comes out, if I'm going to buy it, I'll wait like a few months till they get rid of all the hiccups and then buy it.
Yeah. Well, I've been also... so anyways, that was fun. So I tagged all my old videos that were basically with Pat Lap. That's about it. And I tried to tag Adam, but it didn't work. And I tagged, for those who've listened to the first two, I tagged Poor Man's DIY. So if he still listens to the podcast, he'll know. Anyways, I've also been sanding my old fiberglass trailer. It's a 1976 Boulder, and one of the previous owners painted it red with, I don't know, some shitty paint that was coming off. So I have been, changing that, and yeah.
When you say trailer, you mean like a camper trailer?
Yes. Yeah,
cool. I just looked this up. This thing looks so cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a fun, like, it sleeps 4, and yeah.
What?
It's got a little kitchen
Do
in
you
it.
sleep on top of each other?
Yeah, it's got bunk beds.
Wow. Oh, you literally sleep on top of each other?
Yeah, you literally sleep on top of each other. It's got bunk beds. So it's like for kids, like, obviously it's like not 4 adults, it's 2 adults and 2 kids can sleep on it. But
yeah.
Have you done any like long trips in that?
Yeah, we went all the way to Newfoundland and back.
Dang, that's sweet.
2 weeks. It was fun.
How far away is that?
It's probably like, I don't know. It was 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was like a week there and a week back.
Of driving?
Yeah, but like obviously I didn't do 8 hours. I did like 6 to 8 hours
every night and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like it wasn't like 24
Still,
hours.
That's a hell of a trip.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Anyways, now you've got me confused, and I started looking it up because I'm like the Google problem person. Anyways, let's not waste more time on that.
Yeah,
it's
you're not at work, Grant.
Yeah, Ottawa to Terra Nova National Park and back. And when we went
I know
back,
where that is.
well, so you can Google it later for anyone really interested. And then when we went back, we went through the Cape Breton Highlands National Park. Anyways, so we did like a whole like extra little trip in Nova Scotia.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail your train of thought. I just looked up that trailer and was like, wow, that thing is. I just didn't want. I wanted to make sure you weren't passing it off as just like a trash trailer or something.
No, man, they're really super cool like campers, and they're totally worth restoring. So that's why I'm trying to do that. But
sweet.
My abilities and my wants and my abilities don't line up, but we'll talk more about that later. So changing, and the last thing is I've been changing my ideas on the Because We Make Enlighten Us challenge, and I think it's because I have these grandiose ideas, and I really think like I can, in my mind, I can do it, and then when I try and like actually put it down on paper, I find myself kind of challenged with these like feelings of imposter syndrome, or feeling like I just can't do it and I can't figure it out in my head. And that leads us into our topic today, because we're going to be talking about kind of the gap between your perceived skill and your perceived lack of skill, or as Ira Glass put it, the taste gap is your gap between your taste and your ability to actually make that thing.
I think
so
we should start off by actually reading the quote, because I think that's the best way to put it.
Well, do you have it up?
Yeah, I have it up. I can do it.
Well, then go for it. I think that's great.
Okay, so Ira Glass says, quote, "Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap, that for the first couple years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good. It's not that great. It's really not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer, and your taste is good enough that you can tell what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit. And the thing I would just like to say to you with all my heart is that most everybody I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste and they could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it fell short, didn't have that special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that. And for you to go through it, if you're going through it right now, if you're just getting out of that phase, you got to know it's totally normal. And the most important thing you can do is do a lot of work. Do a huge volume of work. Put yourself in a deadline so that every week or every month, you know you're going to finish one story. And obviously in Ira Glass's case, he's talking about stories not making, but it all relates. Because it's only by actually going through a volume of work that you are actually going to catch up and close that gap. And the work you're making will be as good as your ambitions. It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while. And you just have to fight your way through that. Okay? So yeah, and there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. And I think the only thing like that I think he misses is that it comes in cycles too. Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, so we're going to put up on our Instagram post and up on our Patreon. If you don't have Instagram, you can go to the Patreon public post. I'll include it as an attachment. This little graph that I have of ability versus time, and it basically cycles between your skill at making something versus your skill at seeing or evaluating something. And they talk about it as art, but I think it works for anything you're making. And when I think about it, it's like one of the first woodworking projects I ever did was making a cutting board. I basically went into the store, bought some maple, bought some walnut, bought some purple heart, glued it all together. Everything worked great. And it was like this thing was like, oh, I can make cutting boards. I can make any kind of cutting board. Boom. I've made one. It worked out perfectly. As soon as I tried to add any kind of other thing that I saw people doing with cutting boards, adding a juice groove, adding anything else, I realized I am not good. My skill at seeing what I could do has far surpassed my ability to actually do it. So I needed to make more cutting boards in order to get better at it. I had to make other things in order to see why was I not able to do, like, I don't know, whatever it was. And it goes for almost everything. I get into these like little maker blocks, which are like writer's block or anything other kind of block. I feel like I get into this like this block where I just go, I'm garbage at everything. Everything I do is like falls apart or looks like crap, and I don't understand. But I'll look back and I'll go, but I was super proud at something not that long ago. It was, I thought I made the best cutting board ever. And now I look at it and I see all the flaws that I didn't see before because I've gotten better at seeing things.
So do you feel like, Grant, do you feel like you're now able to recognize that, and like when those low points are happening and you can kind of tell yourself like, this will pass and I need to do X, Y, and Z to sort of like just use this mindset in its own way until the inspiration and motivation comes again?
So I only came across this in the last couple of weeks. The whole the taste gap and this little graph that I saw, and I came across it and it just really spoke to me. And now I see it, and now that's why sometimes I feel like every once in a while I feel like I need a quick win. I need to do a small project that's like, even if it's like someone else's plans, I need to do it. And then if it works out well, it's a quick win. And I go, yay, I did something. And it kind of gives me that little, like, I'm still good feeling.
Yeah.
And now I think this kind of analysis, or this, like, knowing this happens to other people, definitely helps me in realizing why I do what I do. And maybe helps me with figuring out different ways.
Do you think there might be a negative to knowing that as well, though? Like thinking this isn't turning out how I want. Oh, it's fine because it's just the taste gap. Like, or do you think, because do you know what I mean? Like you might, I feel like not knowing you would try harder to make it what you want. Whereas I don't know how to try and explain what I'm saying, but
no, I think there is something there.
Yeah.
I think the risk is that you will really take, oh my gosh, this is so bad, to heart and quit. I think that's kind of what Ira Glass is talking about in the quote.
Yeah, it's more
like, I am not good at this, I will quit. Like if you can power through that and say, and be able to take a step back, look at the project you're working on and say, okay, like why isn't this looking the way I want it to? Versus just like, I don't know, when you're like, when you're getting frustrated with a project and you start kind of maybe forcing a tool a little too hard, and you're forcing it too hard, but you don't care. And you're like, this is going to break. And then it breaks and you get frustrated, but you kind of like, you brought it upon yourself, right? Like that's the worst. There's nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it's a very, what this process is it's cyclical, right? It's like, you're going to have cycles of motivation. You're going to have cycles of inspiration and like a feeling of flow and connectedness with your work. And it's like, you can't really treat all work the same. And that's something I've kind of come to realize recently, is like, for example, yesterday, I kind of had a point in my day where I was like, I don't really know what I should be doing right now. I felt like I got a lot done in the morning. And so like I kind of wanted to relax, but I didn't really have a specific thing I wanted to work on. And I was like, oh, I feel like this would be a good time for just like a little bit of wandering and just trying to get inspiration. So I was like, okay, I have to make a return at Home Depot. I had to return that light I was talking about. So I just went, and this is kind of like what we talked about last week, where I went for the express purpose of just exploring. And I was like, I'm going to go through all the aisles that I never have gone in before, of which there was a surprising amount. It's funny, like if you don't realize sometimes that you really just stick in the same rut in a store. But I went through all like the electrical and plumbing aisles and stuff, just kind of like looking and feeling all the different materials. Kind of came out of it. And was
it's
like,
like
okay, that I feel like I got something out of that. I don't know if I can point to it explicitly, but that was a better use.
It's
of
like
time.
my recommendation from a few weeks ago. Like that's what you said. Just walk down all the aisles and just look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You like the things that you wouldn't even think of going near. Like say, for like you would relate to it like a prop builder. The plumbing aisle is like amazing for prop making.
Yeah.
But not for plumbing, like not for making plumbing stuff, but to like it. Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. Like I've just aimlessly walked around the shop looking for things. Like even like here, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but you can buy like a little cart, like a piece of wood with 4 wheels attached to it, like casters attached to it, to like move stuff around. That's cheaper than buying 4 casters.
Of course.
You know, so like, but unless you walk around the shop and see that, you wouldn't know. You'll just go buy the 4 casters and not know, you know, like you don't see the potential in things unless you actually are just aimlessly walking around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to get tunnel vision. And if you're always project focused, if you're always like, if you only act on projects, then you're not really spending much time freeform thinking and letting those other things filter in. I mean, they will by consequence, in the fact that like, you'll just think of something, you're like, look at a spot in your wall, be like, oh, that thing could go right there. But just kind of bringing it back to the gap that we're talking about, like something I've tried to use those gaps where you're like, things don't really, I can't reach a flow state in my work right now. So let's try to just be a bit more of like a consumer of inspiration and just take a step back or recharge.
I just go watch TV.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. I mean, just the way to keep it sustainable, you got to get a balance.
This isn't going how I want. I'm just going to leave it alone.
But I also find it happens with your abilities too. So like, I know mortise and tenon, joinery and woodwork, it's going to be way better than pocket hole screws, which is something new to me. Or even before that, what I used to do is just use like 3.5-inch long screws screwed through the end grain. Because that's the screws I had, and that's how I knew how to make things, is I would just screw them together with the longest screws I had, and that way things would hold. But as I've actually come into these problems where I've actually gotten into the point where I'm not confident in moving forward with anything because I feel like my abilities aren't up to snuff with my knowledge of what I should be doing. So I have this little gap between what I can do and what I should be doing, right? So it's like I know that screwing into end grain isn't going to make a good joint. Like a butt joint screwed into end grain, horrible. But
depending on the situation.
Yeah, well, like everything, but I kind of feel like I get into these like ruts where I go, I can't even move forward. Because of it.
Because you don't feel like you have the skill to do the thing that you want.
Right. But it's like a year ago, wouldn't have known I needed that skill. I would have just done it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
I was going to say, yeah, I have a bit of the opposite problem is where I just think I can do everything. And then I do it and it turns out like crap. And I'm like, well, what the hell?
Yeah, it's
right.
Funny.
So,
like, I've done dovetails once in my life at school. Mm-hmm. And I'll watch someone do it on YouTube and I think, oh, easy. I can do that. I know if I tried to do it, I'd stuff it up royally.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah,
It's that maker mind.
I was talking about this with someone recently, like those early projects where you don't have, they're so innocent, right? Because like you don't, like you said, you don't know what you don't know, and you try something, and then once you have a lot more experience, it's a lot easier to say like, oh, like I can't do this, I can't do that. It's kind of like why people become more curmudgeon-y in their old age. They've been through everything, so they feel like they can jump to conclusions earlier. But in those, when you don't have as much experience, it's a lot easier just to be like, oh, I'm going to try this, because you don't know the challenges that lay ahead. Like I think about that when I made like a leather bag a couple years ago, like a handbag for a charity auction, which like is one of my best performing videos to date. And I understand why after doing it, is because it's a big, difficult project that a lot of people want to do. And I haven't made one since, because I think that project made me realize like how much nuance there is. And now I almost feel a little overwhelmed, because like if I want to make it again, I want to make it a lot better. And there are all these different things to think about. It's fun.
And that's,
go on.
Every project, if you were to remake it, you're going to think, how can I make this better? Like even like every time I make a project, I think if I was to make that again, I would do this different.
Mm-hmm.
I think no matter what you make, that's gonna happen.
Right, but sometimes you go, if I was going to do this again, I would do it in a way that I don't currently have the skills or abilities to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where that's where I always feel like I'm in the gap, is that I'm between that.
Well, I think that's then a matter of being okay with, what's the word? Like, not intermittent, like walking upstairs, step-by-step improvement. There's a better word for it, but yeah, that's it. Step-by-step improvement. Like you're not going to get to the very end of
incremental.
Incremental. That's the word I couldn't think of. Yeah, it's being okay with incremental improvement. And that's what I think is a great thing about making YouTube videos, because I feel like if you're making videos on a regular basis, then there is no like final video. It's always a slight improvement over the last one. At least in my head, it makes it a little easier for me to be like,
no, I agree. Like every time you put out a new video, you think this is my best video yet.
Yeah. Which is good. I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like, even everyone listening at home, like think of the first thing you ever made and then think of what you make now. Your abilities back then were nothing like they were today. But like even myself, some of the things I've made to these days, like I would think back in the day, like there's no way I would have ever made that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when we first started, when you first said about this topic, like honestly, I was really confused and didn't understand it. But as soon as I understood what you meant, like I realized that it's like pretty much every day that this happens. Like I think back to my final projects for school, and like at the time, like I thought my ability, like I thought, oh yeah, I made a chair set, outdoor setting for my auntie, and I thought, oh yeah, I can make that. It turned out like crap. Like everyone told me it was good, but looking back at it, I know like it wasn't good. Everyone was being nice and stuff, but if I was to make that again today, I think I could do a hell of a better job.
Right. So your skill has improved to the point where you look at a project and you go, oh, I evaluate that as a poorer project today, but with your skills at the time, it was good.
Exactly.
And that's why I think it's such an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I have a project that I started 2 years ago. I was making mini TARDISes for my mate who's like obsessed with Doctor Who, and they're going to be lamps, which actually probably wouldn't be perfect for the Enlighten Us challenge. But now I think about it, they're still in my trailer, like the lamps. But anyway, I made them, I painted them, I left them alone for like a year because like I got stuck on how to put the windows in. Like I didn't cut them out beforehand because I forgot, and then I just put it to the side because I couldn't work it out. And now I look at them and I think that looks like crap because I have that more skill set now that what in my head I do. Of like a year later, I think I would rather just remake it and make it look better. which actually now I think I should have done that for the Enlighten Us challenge. But even like the Enlighten Us challenge, I'm doing wood bending. I've never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I went to do it yesterday. I went to bend wood, realized that it wasn't going to bend as much as I need. So then I started soaking the wood in water because honestly, like I don't really think I have the skill and I guess passion, like to do steam bending. So I'm just trying the easier option, if that makes sense. And I was thinking with that, like where would you cross the line between thinking you don't have the skill and taking the easy route?
Well, I think that's where a lot of people end up quitting. Right? That's the like it all like if you want to do it, then you can't quit. If you don't have the skill, work on the skill. You don't know how to make dovetails? Cut some dovetails. Right? Practice. And I think that's where a lot of it comes down to is that, you know, there's everything gets better with time and practice and a willingness to fail. You have to have a willingness that not everything's going to work out. Right? So you need to have those three things. You need to have time. You need to put in the effort. And you need to be willing to fail. And I think a lot of people don't have those three things, whether they don't have the time to put it in or they don't have the drive to practice something and I feel like I'm not this one because I fail a lot, but they don't have a willingness to fail. Like they're not willing to like,
they're too scared to fail that they just don't bother trying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And another thing on that too, I remember seeing something quite a while ago. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but it was virtually saying that if you deep down, you might think you want to do something. Say, I think it was about smoking. So like you deep down, you think, I want to quit smoking. I don't want to smoke anymore. But if deep down you don't want to, even though you're telling yourself you do, you'll always find an excuse not to.
Yeah.
Which I think goes for making too. You know, you tell yourself, oh, that's not going to look good. I can't do that and that because you just don't feel ready.
And I think a lot of people get into that argument with themselves about, I don't have that tool, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that too.
Right. But then I go and look at, whenever I have that conversation in my mind, I go and look at stuff made 100 years ago. Yeah. Before any tool that I thought I needed was invented, I look at that and I go, well, okay, I don't have a knife. Well, then maybe, I don't have a knife that can do that. Okay. That's, but whatever it is, like if you look 100 years ago and you look at the tools they had and what they created and some of the stuff that you see like from old churches and stuff like that and like old woodworking and carving and stuff, and you just go, wow, the skill and craftsmanship in that. And then you go, oh, I need a CNC to be able to do that.
Yeah,
that's not baby. That's not the baby voice. I need a CNC.
That's like me with like box joints. I think, I'd love to do box joints, but I don't have a dado blade, so I can't do it.
Check out some.
But you have a router.
Check out some Matthias Wendell videos.
No, I don't. I blew them all up.
Oh yeah. That could not dovetail more nicely to my clampmendation, but I guess on the theme of this episode, I will. Well, no, I want to say one more thing about this. I'll suspend the.
Okay, yeah, I got more things to talk about. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess one. I mean, I have on my computer screen right now. I have the Zoom call on one side and this graph on the other, and one way that I feel like the taste gap is super palpable for me is like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I made like a plywood light fixture it's like a log cabin with a light bulb inside. I was really happy with it. I look at it now, I still really like it, but I look at it and I'm like, I can make something so much better now. I still love the aesthetic of it. And I think that is because at the time I did have very good taste. But just technically, I look at it and I say, I could do a lot better. But now with the Enlighten Challenge, I feel like that's a great opportunity to kind of like bridge that gap because I'm looking at it and it's actually a similar vibe. It's a similar aesthetic, but kind of a much more refined, developed version of it. And I think that's the great thing about challenges for one is that it gives you an excuse to kind of like go back to something, and also like iterating on projects is it allows you to kind of like track your progress and see. I mean, I love doing all sorts of different stuff, as anyone who knows me knows, but returning to the same kind of theme, it really lets you be like, oh, I am developing. I'm developing the skill.
I guess. So on the Fools with Tools podcast, Steve was talking about how he had some knives that he had made like a year ago, and he was finally getting around to finishing them. And he went, I wouldn't be comfortable selling them anymore because of how much my skill has improved. This is no longer good enough for me. But he's like, I'm selling them to my patrons and they love me, so they'll buy them anyways. Basically, it was how the conversation went. But anyways, I just kind of look like that's a very interesting way of looking at it, because it's very. I think it like dovetails nicely with what we're talking about, because I think it's all about how you keep getting better, and then as you get better at seeing what is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, as that example demonstrates, because I mean, I haven't seen pictures of Steve's knives, but I bet to the lay person, they would look pretty good. And
that's exactly the other thing is it's like it keeps getting smaller, whatever that scale, some sort of exponential scale that keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So your ability to see is like so refined that you need like a microscope now to see whether or not that's a good knife, right? As you get better and better and better, you need better, you're basically looking at stuff under a microscope that you later, like the majority of people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So it's a very good point.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a good reason why I always think of what Jimmy DiResta says is like, don't be so precious about your work. I think being precious to a certain degree is good, like having some pride in your work. But you can't get so caught up in it that you lose sight of like a normal person looking at this would think it's pretty awesome. It's always good to remember. It's always good to bounce it off someone who's not inside of your own head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a bit of an example, but it's more of the thinking, more of the being scared of doing something, but then like once you do it. So my wife is like always been scared of tools. I mean, not like petrified, but like, she doesn't want to use them. Anyway, so there's a thing going around like with toys at the moment where like people are selling like wooden rainbows and stuff, and you can buy them painted or raw. And we've had this painted one in the house that costs like $10. And my wife's like, oh, I want to sand it down. So I said, okay, we'll use the belt sander, like the tabletop one. And she was so scared to use it. And then she used it for the first time yesterday and like fell in love, like would not leave the shop so I could record. And like, like I was happy for her. And now even today, she's like, I want to start a business. I want to make this stuff. I want to do this. And like, has just like, it's insane. But like, until she tried it, because she kept telling herself, no, I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I can't do it, until she tried it. And now like the world has just opened.
Mm-hmm. Right. So she's hit that, like that peak of her like skill is peaking now. It's great. Exactly. That's an awesome thing to see.
Yeah. Although she said, oh, I want to, because she wants to make a business of like making them and selling them and stuff. She's like, oh, I'll buy rainbows and sand them down. I'm like, I have a bandsaw. You could just cut your own. Yeah, she's not ready for that yet.
All right. Well, I think we're getting a little on the time. We're running a little late. Well, not late. Whatever. We're running a little long. Not late.
Running a little right where we are.
There's a pre-show in that time.
Yeah, I know. Well, we still have time we gotta, read our reviews and mention our patrons. So, well, first I'm gonna mention the patrons before we get into reading reviews, because Morley has to figure out what accent
Pittsburgh.
he's going to be using for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, look at the doc.
Morley forgot. So I'm going a big shout out to Leroy from Big Rock Timberworks. Thank you very much for being an F clamp.
Leroy.
Is that Leroy Jenkins? Yes.
Yeah, but I didn't know how to do the Big Rock Timberworks. Can you do that instead of Jenkins?
Hey, Big Rock Timberworks. That's a great World of Warcraft shout out. So yes, thanks for being an F clamp level. And anyone who becomes a patron gets access to the after show. And if you're an F clamp level, then you get a shout out on the show. And there's a limited supply of those. So, get in there before they're all gone. And now we're going to move on to my favorite part of the show, which is where Morley reads reviews with accents.
Oh, geez. Okay. So, all right. So our reviewer is from Pittsburgh, and I didn't grow up too far from Pittsburgh. It's still in kind of my region of the United States. I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to read it in my own voice. The only thing, I'll replace one word with a Pittsburgh slang that I know to be a thing. So
okay,
let's go. The title is "Keep Up the Great Work," and he says, "Yin's guys are awesome." He says "these guys," but if he's talking to us, I'm just gonna throw in that little slang there. Yin's guys are awesome.
Is that what John Malecki's thing is?
Yeah, Yin's is a Pittsburgh slang that means like y'all or y'alls.
Oh, okay. Every time I say it, I think it's like some derogatory slur. And now it makes sense, though.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's an awesome city, by the way.
Anyway, go on.
Would highly recommend visiting. It's great. Yin's guys are awesome. This is an easy listen for anyone interested in woodworking or whatever random topics they may end up on. Thanks for a great podcast. I can't wait for more awesome episodes to come. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that is Wavin' Towel from the United States.
So that's I believe Dead Rise Woodcrafts, and the waving towel is of course the terrible towel.
Of course,
yes, because he's from Pittsburgh and he told me he wrote a review. So I'm guessing that's him.
Sweet. All right, clamp mendations.
How about Yin's guys? Are Yin's guys ready for? I've never heard that before in my life. So are Yin's guys ready for clamp mendations?
Yeah, it is a weird word. I don't actually know if I've ever heard anyone say it, but I know it's a thing.
Okay.
Just quickly too, like if you are new to here, so we read out any recommendations we get every week. If you want to leave one, leave it on your favorite podcast player. If your podcast player doesn't allow it, just send me a message on the Clampcast Instagram and we'll read it out and you get a shout out.
And when Adam says recommendations, he means reviews.
Yeah.
Did I say recommendations?
You did.
It's okay.
So Adam, how about you tell us about your clamp mendation for the week?
Okay, my clampmendation this week is a show on Netflix called How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. I think it's recorded in the UK, maybe. But I don't know. I was really hooked on it, and then they just brought out season 2, so that's pretty much what I've been watching this week. Other than that, I was gonna clampmendation Grant's latest video, but I thought that might be a bit.
No, you can totally do that. You should tell everyone to watch it. What made you? Oh, fuck! I even forgot. Oh God, I swore. Now it's explicit.
You already swore.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I totally forgot. I released a video this week. That's really funny. What have you been up to this week? Oh, not checking YouTube Studio every 5 minutes to see whether or not the view count went up. Right, I totally forgot that's what I'd been up to.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your video this week. It was, I don't know, it flowed really well. And the whole like picture panning thing that we talked about last week, it works really well. Like
Thanks.
I think anyone watching it wouldn't think, "Oh, I wish that was a video." Like, I think it was great.
Well, thank you. I wish it was video because it really showed me like sneaking up on a deer, and I thought that would be really cool to see, but it wasn't. So
I wish you could go camping every week and make a vlog every week.
yeah, it's actually like so much work to do that. Like it was way more work than I thought. And on top of that, when I looked back over the footage, missing a bunch of it, I kind of went, that kind of sucks. Anyways, thanks for reminding me about.
Yeah, could you imagine being a daily vlogger? Like,
no,
you would have no life.
Yeah, like
that being bored you were talking about before, Morley, that would disappear.
Big bored. What are we talking about?
Being bored.
What? What did I say? Big bored.
You said anyway.
You said you went to go get like inspiration because you didn't know what to do.
Yeah, you said you didn't know what to do with your time.
I thought you meant a
being bored. Yeah.
Bored.
So
I just looked at when you said that. I just looked at Grant and going, I remember when I used to be bored.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Once you have kids, you don't remember that anymore. How about you, Morley? What's your implementation for the week?
So I had a book recommended to me recently. The book is called 507 Mechanical Movements by Henry T. Brown. It is exactly as it sounds. So holding it up to the camera right now for the boys in the chat. It's essentially just illustrations and descriptions of mechanical movements. And this was originally published in 1908, I believe. So kind of like Grant was talking about.
That book?
Yeah. Kind of like Grant was originally talking about. Kind of like Grant was talking about earlier. It's really amazing to see the ingenuity and, as Jimmy DiResta would say, the gizmosity of stuff that people figured out to make the world work. They has all sorts of gear layouts, clutches, pulley layouts, some like watch mechanisms, water wheels, any sort of like just crazy mechanism you can think of. And there actually is a website that goes along with it where they animate a lot of the
cool.
The movement. So it's I find it kind of fun to kind of look at it and try to figure out how it would work, because it's, I don't know, if you look at like old engineering drawings, it's not always immediately apparent how it would work. But also get
that
what were you gonna say?
That book looks like a definition of the reason I dropped out of engineering studies.
Yeah, it's nice to not have, like, if there's no assignment attached to it, so it's nice that there's no pressure. But just
it's interesting because I dropped out of engineering not because of that. I dropped out of it for different reasons. So all three of us did engineering studies, but only one of us graduated.
Yeah, just like getting into 3D printing, it's a cool thing to have around. I have a few books. I have a bunch of books that I just have to kind of like flip through for inspiration, and it's awesome.
That looks like a cool book worth getting for some inspiration for sure.
It's like I got it for like $7 on Amazon. I needed something to push my cart over the free shipping threshold, so I was like, perfect.
I have Amazon Prime, so I don't have to worry about that. But big money here.
Amazon here is crap.
Yeah,
which we talked about before.
Yeah,
I have eBay Plus, which is like Amazon Prime,
but it doesn't come with TV shows like The Boys
or Marvelous Mrs.
Anyways,
Maisel. Grant, what's your recommendation?
I haven't watched it. I'm going to recommend Bim Bam, which is My Bim Bam is short for My Brother and Me. It's a comedy podcast, comedy advice podcast. They don't give advice about comedy. They give comedic responses to people who ask advice questions. It's three brothers, and they're just really, I don't know. I've listened to every single one of their episodes. They just crossed the, I think, 530 episode threshold, but they're just really funny.
Do they have are they maker orientated, or
they are not?
No,
they are.
So it's
not.
Like the non-maker version of Arscast.
Yeah, but but they actually are funny. All right. They actually respond. They actually read the questions and give funny answers and don't just go on tangents.
That clip's going on the Instagram story tagging. Ask us.
Yeah, go for it. You can tag them and also tag ZH Fabrications, tag Paul Jackman, and tag Graz. If like Graz is funny, but otherwise, no. Graz is the only one I think that would actually see the tag. That's why I said that. The rest of them are too big.
It made me laugh with a mouthful of beer.
Anyways, let's move on to the AOB or the any other business. Do you guys have an AOB?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys' opinion on Instagram. So, like, I'm not in the shop enough to post daily and keep my audience engaged, if you know what I mean. So, what is your guys' thoughts on, like, making it more personal? I have done it a couple of times over the last week, like making a story of being at the gym and all that sort of stuff. Do you think if I made posts about that it would annoy people, being that it's like Maker Mackie and not Maker related posts?
This could be a whole nother episode.
I think that I agree. This should be a whole nother episode, but I'll answer quickly and say posts should be curated and stories should be personal.
Yeah,
okay.
I would disclaim that of like, you should just do whatever you want. But
okay, fair. But if you're looking to grow, you're looking to grow,
that is kind of how I operate.
Right.
In that, like, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that stories are consumed way more than posts on Instagram now.
Okay.
And because they expire in 24
that's interesting.
Yeah. I at least think that way. I mean, when I look at how many people are looking at stuff, and I mean, they serve different purposes, but
Can you see how many people have viewed your story?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I never looked into that. Oh, okay.
I think it's a fun, if anything, it's a good medium for experimentation. Just if you try, it expires in 24 hours. And if you don't like it, then it's gone.
Yeah. I think, like personally, I think that like with a story, it's something more for the people that follow you. And a post is more of like, for the people that follow you, but also to try and get more people to follow you, if that makes sense. Yeah. Or do you think that people would follow you from a story?
I've got followers from a story. So
that will get pushed out to people even if it doesn't get shared?
Small number, but yes.
Okay.
So I've found that let's have a whole topic about this. Let's not go any further in this.
I was going to say, I have another question that's like really just going to push this out.
let's move this into the next episode.
Another episode.
Let's make it next week. Because I think that it needs to be talked about now, and I have so many ideas and things I want to say.
Okay.
And I don't think I could wait longer. So the other thing we're going to say is we're going to be getting some stickers for the Creating, Living, and Making podcast, or CLAMP as we like to call it, and patrons are going to get stickers first. So, or maybe they're going to be the only people who get stickers.
I was going to say, Patreon's going to be the other people that get stickers.
Well,
stick to the story, Grant.
Okay. Sorry. I just got overruled on there. And the last thing of the AOB.
Grant needs his beer money.
Yes, I do. That's true. Right. I forgot about that. Go look at the goals on Patreon to understand that. The last thing is we want to thank TF Turning for the use of our theme song, because we haven't been doing that. And I think we should, because I think it was really nice of him to compose that for us.
Yeah, I love it. It always pumps me up whenever
definitely.
I hear it. Especially with that of the beer opening.
Especially when we get that good beer crack at the beginning that I can put in there. Yeah. When we don't get that, I don't put it in, and it just is not the same. It's
not. You should just like use one. Anyways.
Yeah.
No.
So where can it? Yeah, it's fair enough. Well, I opened enough beer cans during the thing that you should be able to get at least one. Where can everyone find you, Adam?
You can find me at makermackie.com. I have links to all my socials on there, and I'm about to start a Twitter called The Grant Alexander.
You can't because that's too long. That's why I'm not on Twitter.
TGA.
Where can everyone find you, Morley?
I'm not on Twitter.
You find me at Morley Kurt just about everywhere. What about you, Grant?
And you can find me at the Grant Alexander, or as Christy likes to call it, the Great Alexander, and also on thegrantalexander.com. So that's, and you can find us collectively at Clampcast on Instagram at clamp.buzzsprout.com is our website. And I think we might start up a Twitter.
Yeah.
And we also have a Facebook.
Good.
I might have some fun with the Twitter.
Do we want to mention why we're going to start a Twitter?
No, we're gonna keep it a secret until we actually do it.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Hold on. Stay tuned.
If you follow us on social media, you'll find out.
We'll talk about it in the after show.
Yeah.
Right. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Love you.
I got a pen here.
Don't ruin it.
There, I got 3 to get through.
Ooh, somebody just finished work.
Oh,
cheers.
Little Canadian beer.
Is that Canadian?
Well, it was originally
it's
Canadian. It's now American.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's my favorite beer. It's really hard to get over here, but for those listening, it's